Vibes on location here in Belfast. We're with Negative Equity UK and I'm joined by Phil Davison. And Phil, I thought it would be very interesting to create a video directed really at kind of highly geared landlords and just to really make them aware of perhaps some of the risks that they're facing, because you know, when you see clients, you do an overall kind of affordability calculation. Absolutely. Looking, you know, 10 years ahead. And we've got a large proportion of landlords that got started in the go-go days of easy finance, who have probably only survived in reality due to low interest rates. They might think that they're okay at the moment, but actually they do need to have a look at the kind of stress testing of their portfolio, don't they, with the view to the future?
Yeah. Absolutely. The negative equity part of it could actually be a bit of a misnomer, because that's the situation now. That might repair over time, but what is the actual cost to a landlord over time? If you have portfolios, which we see all the time, that are, I suppose the term we would use is just about washing their face, they're just about paying for themselves. What are those additional costs, and what are those additional costs over time? At the moment, we see cases where properties that were bought in 05, 6, 7, the boom times, and those properties were, you know, somebody's bought a property, they put some money into the property. Well, we're getting to a stage now where we're 10 years in. A lot of these, it's interest-only mortgage. The only thing that has kept the whole boat afloat is the low interest rates. So you've got an interest-only property, you're 10 years into your deal, and things are starting to need to be repaired. Just a natural way of things. By the time you factor in other costs, letting fees, maybe a bit of bad debt, just basic running costs of owning properties, and you multiply that over time. Whenever you have these highly geared property portfolios, never mind the debt part of it, it's the actual ongoing running costs over time. If you work that out, you can actually show that it puts landlords in a very detrimental position. And there might be the option to draw to a close, find a resolution to that, get that dealt with now, and then be in a position to move on in the future.
Because I think, you know, there is, you know, speaking as a landlord myself, we have an emotional attachment to our properties. They're our retirement. Absolutely. You know, we've really kind of put ourselves out of our comfort zone to get into running a property business. And, you know, it's very hard for landlords in a kind of precarious situation to actually face up to reality. And they might find it very hard to believe that actually it would be better if they sold their properties at this point now rather than wait. And as I think you've described it, it's almost like having the pain now and having a chance to recover than see the pain coming towards you down the pipe.
Absolutely. People tend to get emotionally attached to investment property. The reason they're doing is often thinking about emotive times, and they're thinking about, I'll buy some houses here and that'll pay for university fees, it'll pay for weddings, it'll pay for retirements, it'll be pensions, all these sort of things. So it can be very hard to cut the cord on stuff like that. But in the cool light of day, it's a monetary decision. You know, and the same reason as you got into investing in property, it's a monetary decision. And knowing when to pull the plug on what is a failing investment is very important. And the thing is, you won't know until you actually look at all the variables, pull all the information together and get a clear picture. And that could be a negative picture, but it could also be a positive picture. I mean, the answer from that could be, this is grand, it's a case of sitting tight and you're going to wait it out. But there has to be strong reasons to do so, in the same way as there has to be strong reasons not to.
And I think, you know, that leads nicely into your service, is that when you speak to landlords, you actually look at their current situation and you project forward to look at the running costs of the portfolio, and you can advise if, you know, if they should be considering taking some form of perhaps debt restructuring or something of that nature to protect themselves in the future. And all of this actually just means being informed and understanding your situation. And, you know, I'm concerned there's many landlords out there, I'd call them zombie landlords, that have survived on low interest rates, you know, think they're going to be okay, but actually, that, as you said, they've got 10 years left to run on an interest-only mortgage, they have no exit strategy. These kind of landlords are actually potentially in quite a perilous situation, and to actually look at that now would be a very sensible thing to do, and they might find they're perfectly okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it's trying to be I suppose cliche term, but proactive about the thing. Find out where you are, arm yourself with knowledge. We can all be quite complacent at times, and something's ticking along, so the tendency is to leave it alone, and you can understand that, but the thing that we would advise to do is get in touch, have a conversation, have a look at the numbers, have a look at the options. We need to be able to justify every client that we take on, and we're not in the business of taking on clients without being able to justify that. So from somebody's point of view, if they're in a highly leveraged situation, it's a situation that looks as though it might not be tenable. It's a case of getting in touch, and we'll be able to tell them very quickly what we think that the outcome is more than likely to be.
Indeed, numbers never lie, so you can rely on numbers to tell you the truth. Now, added into this, we've got Section 24 coming into effect over the next 4 years. When you do your kind of portfolio stress tests, are you going to be looking at the impact of Section 24 on those landlords? Because that could potentially tip things into a very difficult position.
Absolutely. I mean, as we've already said, many people aren't even really taking notice of it at the moment, to be honest. And it's going to be a bit of a shock for people whenever this works its way through. So what we're doing at the moment is whenever we look at those, we're trying to take into account all possible costs to give us a fair reflection of the picture. There would be no point looking at it without incorporating those costs into what's going to happen. And I think there's the section 24, the timing of it is very difficult. Prices in a lot of parts of the UK, prices haven't had the opportunity to adequately recover. You've got these zombie situations where people have just about been able to make ends meet, and this is going to be the thing that causes people problems. And then at that stage, they've got a decision: do they go further into their own savings, do they go further into their own money, or do they try and seek a resolution with a bank and get themselves away from the situation?
And when you get involved, you actually look at the entire picture, and I think this is so important for landlords to take every factor into account. And if necessary, you can work with lenders to help that landlord restructure their debt in some way.
Absolutely, yeah.
So generally, there's an answer to most problems that you come across, isn't there?
But there won't be a situation that we won't have seen before. There is an answer, whether the client wants to take that route or not is their choice. But we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at how they got there in the first instance, which is important. We're going to look at all the options that are on the table for them, and we're going to make a recommendation. Ultimately, it's up to the client whether they want to go with that or not. The other option is that, on being informed, they choose to take no option and wait their time out. And at the end of the day, none of us really know what's going to happen 8-10 years down the line. But the way things look at the moment, it would appear to be that some of the parts of the UK where things haven't recovered, it doesn't look great. And for the sake of having a conversation, to become better informed and to see exactly what all your options are, I think it makes sense.
Yes, I totally agree. And just to be clear, we're not kind of doom-mongering here.
Not at all.
We're just saying that there are threats to landlords who are highly leveraged, who are potentially in negative equity. We've obviously got Brexit coming up. Nobody knows the economic waves from that. There's possible interest rate rises in the future. Nobody can say when. But I think you're absolutely right that it's the informed landlord that has a very clear understanding of their position who can make wise decisions going forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just to go, as we've already said, nobody gets into investment. Some people get into it accidentally, obviously, but most people who choose to get involved in investment choose to get involved in it for the right reasons. They're looking for a positive outcome. In a lot of cases, that's what they get, but in some cases they don't. And all we're trying to do is inform people. That's all. Tell people what their options are. They then are better informed about what's going to happen to them as they go forward, and that's really the key to it all. It's just about information. It's just about knowledge. It's not about doom mongering. The situations can get better or worse, but it's just about information.
Yes, totally. Well, we're really glad to have your input for the Property Tribes community. And if you've got any questions for for Phil and his colleague Tom, they are on hand to answer them. So we hope this video has at the very least been thought-provoking, and if you do have any comments, do drop them underneath the video, and the guys here at Negative Equity UK will be pleased to answer them.
Thank you.